An organization's performance is viewed from the point of view of stakeholders. Stakeholders are anyone affected by or who can affect an organization and its activities. Mendelow's matrix can be used to analyze the management of stakeholders. Mendelow's matrix maps stakeholders' level of power against their level of interest. Power is the amount of power a stakeholder can exercise over an organization, and interest is how likely a stakeholder is to take action. Stakeholders with a high level of power and a high level of interest are referred to as key players. These stakeholders should be kept informed and kept happy at all times. Stakeholders with a high level of power and a low level of interest should be kept satisfied. This ensures their interest does not increase. As long as they are kept satisfied, they will not interfere with how the business is run. Stakeholders with high interest but a low level of power, they just need to be kept informed. These stakeholders are very interested in the business, but they cannot exert much influence over it as they don't have much power. They are kept informed to keep them happy and stop them from joining up with other stakeholders which could possibly move them into the key player zone. And finally, for stakeholders with a low level of power and a low level of interest, minimum effort is required here. Actively managing stakeholders decreases the risk of corporate failure due to greater understanding of stakeholder concerns. For example, understanding what customers expect can help ensure an organization's future profit levels are maintained, or understanding what shareholders expect can ensure continued investment for an organization. Stakeholders will have different objectives, and organizations may monitor their achievement of these objectives by having a range of performance indicators in place. An organization will have many stakeholders, each with different wants and needs, and many of these wants and needs will conflict. For example, employees will want high wages while shareholders will want high returns. Paying employees high wages will reduce the amount of returns made to shareholders. Therefore, management need to manage stakeholder conflicts, and this can be done through prioritization, negotiation, sequential attention, side payments, and exertion of power. Prioritization, possibly using Mendelow's matrix as a guide on which stakeholders to prioritize. Negotiation and satisficing. This is the achievement of a compromise, possibly by finding the minimum acceptable outcome for the stakeholder and offering them that. With sequential attention, focus is put on different stakeholders each period. Side payments. This may be offering a benefit to a group which is not what they actually want but what they may accept instead. And finally, exertion of power. This is used in a deadlock situation where a senior figure simply exerts their power to force through a decision. How might stakeholder analysis information come up in an exam situation? With Mendelow's matrix, you might be asked to justify appropriate management approaches to stakeholders. Firstly, you should briefly explain the theory behind stakeholder power and interest levels. Then you should identify the stakeholders referred to in the scenario. For example, shareholders, employees, customers, suppliers, and the general public, and so forth. You should then organize the stakeholders according to their level of power and interest. When answering an exam-style question, you should always link the scenario to the theory learned. So instead of saying those stakeholders with a high level of power and a low level of interest should be kept satisfied to ensure their interest does not increase, you should link which stakeholder has a high level of power and a low level of interest. You should explain why you have identified that they have this power and interest, and then you should apply your theory learned to the given scenario. So say, for example, you're talking about a powerful shareholder who does not wish to get involved in the running of the organization. You may say, shareholders have considerable power but do not wish active involvement in the decision-making process, preferring to leave this to management. Therefore, shareholders must be kept satisfied by ensuring their financial targets are met.